Hamiya, we disum samoyit lacha. We thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for this beautiful lachyip, and we thank you for this wonderful opportunity for growth so that we can come together to exist in a state of sarait gi'ot, of being amongst one heart. And so that we may extend these practices into our families, into our will, into our communities, and into all of our relations going around the world, and not only amongst each other as human beings, but also to remember the lessons that were imparted upon us through our adao, through our history, and being in good relations with all the animals, with the land itself, with the waters. And so that together we can thrive with the gift of life, that we can experience growth, and that we can experience wisdom and all the opportunities to demonstrate courage, to demonstrate our humanity in the best way possible. So we just thank you for this opportunity and the many other opportunities and challenges that we face in our lives so that we could be the best that we can be. And also, finally, thank you for the good friends and good company that make this journey so worthwhile. Sabah. So, to begin, it is my honor and privilege to introduce our first moderator, Janelle Lapointe, who will be moderating our youth panel. And I will also be calling up our first round of panelists, Drew Harris, Grace Vickers, and Luke Ryan. So I have a bit of a preamble here. We welcome you all into this circle to honor the voices of our young people. Our youth are not just tomorrow's leaders, but they are leading now. Through storytelling, art, and the teachings that they have received from matriarchs, elders, the community, and each other. They are protecting languages, lands, and waters, guiding our future leaders as you have created space for them. Today we'll hear from our youth about their stories, about their experiences, and we just ask that everyone listens with a full heart and an open mind to witness our youth and the work that they are doing. So we thank you all, and I'll officially hand it off to Janelle.
Masicho, Colin, Hadith Tiene, Spoozy, Janelle Lapointe, Stella Ten, Asli, Laksoyu Bath Asta, Getsan, Hubu Yankat Etspa, Ninja Nasya, Alu and Michelle Baker, Abba and Renee Lapointe, Sue and Emma Baker, Tien and Willie Baker Inlay. Hello everyone, good day. My name is Janelle Lapointe. I am a member of Stella Ten First Nation, the village of Stella, Stella Co. Some of you who have driven far journeys to get here would have passed through my homelands. I'm a language learner. I'm one of 60 people from my nation picking up our language, so I'm really proud to practice a little that I know. And just wanted to acknowledge my parents and my matrilineal line as part of my protocol. I'm also a senior advisor at the David Suzuki Foundation. I have some of my colleagues joining us once again for another Peace and Unity, and we're just so happy to be here. Siaskat Nat Onat Lenezi Islahula. I'm 29 years old. This is my 30th year Earthside. This is what I call approaching the elder youth age. And I love just getting a year older every year because it means that I'm always meeting younger youth that are joining the youth movement and just see how, yeah, people younger than me are taking up this really important work. So proud to hold space for all of you today and just being good conversation. So just want to start off by letting the panelists introduce themselves. Would love to just know who you are, where you come from, and the work you do. And maybe we'll start with you, Drew.
Hutdi Saizoze Drew Harris. My mother's side, I am Wet'suwet'en, and I come from the Lexilyu clan, Genechlaye, the House of Many Eyes. And on my father's side, I'm Gitsan, and my father clan is Lukgabu Wilp Goint. So I grew up on Gitsan territory my whole life, and I'm so grateful to call this place home. I grew up in Hegwilgit. Yeah, and I started my land defense journey really last year. I stepped into a role as an intern at Skeena Watershed Conservation with Grace over here, and it changed my life since then. I got back from school with a degree in mental health and psychology, but throughout my degree, I quickly realized that everything is connected and you can't just heal one thing. You have to heal your environment and your surroundings. And looking at the state of the world, I knew I needed to do something bigger than just mental health. So I landed this job and it was a perfect fit. And I mostly help with comms and videography, but my main focus is youth engagement and community outreach and capacity building. But yeah, I'm so grateful my mom taught me the importance of the land and how everything is connected, and just really instilled traditional values in me that have led me to where I am today that I'm super grateful for. And yeah, we started our Firekeepers group last fall, and that also has been life-changing, and I'll let them talk for a bit now.
Hatmia Janelle, Hatmia Drew. My name's Grace Vickers. I am the daughter of Andrea and Roy Vickers. I'm Hiltzik Haida and Simsien from the House of Aweebakwa Wakis. My family moved here on my first birthday, so I've officially been in the Hazeltons for 21 years now. And my father was brought into Wilp Gale, and that's my father clan in this area. As Drew said, we both started off as interns at SWCC, also known as Skeena Watershed Conservation Coalition, and it really just sparked like so much. I think Drew and I were both coming from a place of reconnection, and I think it was so pivotal that we kind of fell into each other's pathways at that point in time, and we really just kind of helped build upon each other. Just kind of reconnecting with the land and the territory, and now we spend a lot of time going out, and it's been honestly quite life-changing, I would say, and it's very fulfilling. I'm also currently at university for a dual degree in political science and Indigenous studies, so it's been really interesting connecting like the educational aspect to actually what's going on the ground. And just being a part of this movement has just meant so much to me, and Firekeepers as a whole has been very strengthening in terms of having like such a strong community behind you, uplifting you and giving you like the encouragement to go and do everything that we're doing, like getting up here and speaking. Like Drew and I were both voluntold last year at Peace and Unity to go out and MC, so it kind of just feels like a full circle moment to be here today speaking. But I guess that's all for my introduction.
Amahilu. My name is Luke Ryan. I am Giksan. My father is Magat Hennemuk, and my mother is Sodo Scottish. So I've been around here for like the last 5 years. Grew up down in Kamloops, and my background is a fisheries technician with the Giksan Watershed Authorities. I mainly specialize in maps and just being out on the land with people. I've come to join the Firekeepers as well as, the oncoming PRGT has been pretty big concern for a lot of like our fish and our community and our land. So I've gotten to know people who have been pretty passionate about the land and the animals and the people being impacted by everything right now. So it's been pretty empowering for sure, and inspiring to be part of this.
Awesome, thanks all. First I wanted to say I'm just so proud of you all. I'm sure you see me in your live streams, heart emoji spamming. I'm from a community that is heavily impacted by resource extraction, and I'm really inspired about the community that you've formed with other youth, and it's something that I've wanted to take back from my community, following y'all's blueprint. So yeah, just wanted to say I'm proud of you all. You talked a little bit about the fire keepers, and Luke, you just touched on briefly the PRGT fight, and I'm sure we're gonna keep talking about the different upcoming fights on these lands over the next 3 days. But I'm wondering if anyone just wants to elaborate more on what's going on in the land, and how are the fire keepers using their culture and their decision-making structures to counter some of that.
We've been doing lots of stuff with the fire keepers. When we first started, it was just a response to the PRGT pipeline, because lots of us just, this announcement just came to us again last year that it was being brought back. So lots of us were pretty scared and unsure, and we're like, what the heck, we don't want this coming through our backyard. So it started off as a PRGT fight, but it quickly opened the door to so many other things that are important to us, like language revitalization, bringing back cultural practices. For this whole summer, we've been doing a Lac-Yip monitoring program in partnership with the GWA, Gitxsan Watershed Authority. And we have been taking baseline samples of water and creek crossings for the pipeline and doing veggie surveys. So we've just really been learning our territories, learning what's on them, how are they doing, what's affecting them, what we can eat. And we've just been learning so much. Our whole backyard is a forest garden. There's food everywhere. And the more you get out there, the more crazy it seems that that's under threat for something like a pipeline. And we just started learning more and building capacity from grassroots levels so that we can keep sharing. If you talk to any of us, we just are obsessed with plants right now. It's our new obsession. But Grace.
Thanks for passing it off. Yeah, I think for us, it was brought to our attention that PRGT was being revitalized, which is the Prince Rupert gas transmission pipeline. For a lot of us, we thought that was squashed, and we quickly realized that it was not. So Drew and I think our main focus was educating ourselves. As youth in the community, we had heard very little about the project in general, and I think that was a large area of concern for ourselves. And as we were just starting our journey in reconnection, we also, had to take it upon ourselves, not through a place of entitlement, but a place of responsibility, that if we're learning about the land, that also comes with protecting the land. And that means also protecting the Lac-Yip for future generations as well. And that's where we kind of started our educational journey. So through our social medias, we share quite a bit of information on the processes and how the pipeline is being pushed through different contracting. And it was honestly just a little bit painful to see industry coming in and disrupting so many relationships within communities. And I think for our generation right now, being in that place of reconnection, it's really challenging for us to think about an entire colonial industry coming in and disrupting something when we're just finally getting our feet in the ground and reconnecting. And we're just kind of questioning, well, what is it going to look like when we have even more colonial influence into our communities, doubling our population size? So I think that was an area where we were like, okay, well, we want to get educated. And if we want to get educated, we assume other people do as well. So we started looking at a lot of different aspects. We started looking at what the effects will look like for the Lac-Yip, and working with Luke and other employees at GWA, we've gone out and we've done water monitoring. We've looked at the plant and done vegetation surveys. We've looked at old growth areas where they're going to be cut through. We looked at streams and crossings that the pipeline's going to be going across, over 1,000, by the way, throughout the project. So I think after a conversation with Kirby, we were like, well, like, this is going to affect everyone, like, downstream from us. And Kirby goes, no, it's going to affect everyone. Like, those fish have to go down, they got to get back up. Like, this isn't just affecting everyone downstream, this is affecting everyone in general, and it's not just one way, it's all the way around. And that really just kind of brought me back to being in, like, one heart, and making decisions when they're happening is taking into consideration how they're going to affect everyone. And I think that's where we kind of ground ourselves in thinking about that through, like, the 7 generations, and how the decisions were being made today by our leadership. We have to think about how that's going to ripple, and that's going to affect our grandchildren, and how we're going to be able to create a sustainable future for everybody, not just for momentary economic benefits. So Drew and I looked at a lot of different aspects, and then as we started learning, more people wanted to learn as well, and it really just became like an educational outlet where we were learning along a lot of other interested community members, people who weren't Indigenous, people who were Indigenous, and people who were just allies. And I think that's kind of, we've just grown like so quickly over such a short period of time. I think we're coming up on 1 year, just under 1 year that we started our organization. But that's kind of a little bit of background on us and how we got started.
Awesome, thanks so much. And I know, Grace just nodded to some of the work you do, Luke, and I know there's like lots of map nerds in the crowd and people that are really interested in the technical work, so I'd love to hear specifically about your role and your work and how it intersects with the PRGT fight.
My role is mainly just doing GIS. Specifically, like when I first started my job, I was like, getting used to mapping out sockeye or Chinook and their spawning areas. But as time went on, especially like last year, got like a email saying, I got a shapefile from one of the people from the province about this pipeline, and I was like, oh no, here we are again. So I see, bringing in this pipeline into like the map system and seeing how much is going to go across the territories and impacted Lac Yip from each whelp. It's going to be, it was like really eye-opening for me to just see all that going through a lot of salmon habitat and different kind of old growth of what's left. So yeah, my job is mainly just being out on the land and monitoring and looking at all that information and then mapping it and coming back into the fire keepers. I was like, I wanted to do something about that. Like, I didn't want to really sit back and watch a lot of this unfold while, they get to dictate like what is best for our future when it's not. I don't think it's really good for our future. So yeah, it's like bringing all that work together and trying to see how we could bring in like technical side of things, like water quality monitoring, soil sampling, plant surveys, any kind of like ideas of what we could do to like actually go back out onto the land and also learn from each other and also see how we could catch up on what we can do to, on this everything in general with like cumulative effects or, this pipeline.
Thank you. Thanks so much for sharing. I think when media or sometimes other organizations are telling the story of these frontline resistance, I think they're, often really highlighting the thing we're saying no to and really kind of painting an us versus them picture. But what I hear in your sharing is just all the things that you're saying yes to, all the reconnection that this work has allowed you to do, both to the land and to each other. So I would love to just tap into that a little bit more, and wondering if you want to share just like some highlights over the past few years, the joy, the fun, the nerding out on plants, whatever you want to share about what this work has really looked like beyond the PRGT fight.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that we've been learning is cultural fires and cultural burning. We have been working a lot with Darlene Vey this summer and have been learning so much from her, and it's been so empowering, and so it just gives so much hope to learn all of these old practices that colonization took away from us, and just seeing the connection between all the suppression between cultural burning and just our language in general, and how like the reconnection of bringing back good fire, as Darlene calls it, is just like the good fire that we're starting with the fire keepers again. And it's just been really fulfilling and really awesome, and just feeling that connection to the land, and like the practices that we did that helped the land so much. Like everything is so connected, it's crazy. But yeah, the cultural burning and how it helps the plants. You get better berries, you get better food, you get better habitat for the rest of the animals in the forest, and it's a win-win situation. So it's just super exciting to see this coming back, and we're so excited to actually be fire keepers. But yeah, and that's part of my favorite part for now.
I totally agree with Drew. I think for me, it's definitely been relationship building, whether that be with one another or with the Lakiep. I just think about like our time going out, and we hiked down Swan Lake to where the pipeline will be crossing the Skeena River. And the first thing what we did when we got there was a little pool there, and we all just immediately, we were just like, well, clothes were coming off, and we're like, no, we're getting in this water, like we're going for a dip. And that was the first thought we had getting down there. And I think just like having that realization as we're swimming that like, if this pipeline were to go through, like we're here and we're enjoying the territory. And I think that just meant so much to me that I actually get that opportunity. It made me feel super grateful. And I always get quite emotional when I talk about like just the connection to the Lakiep and one another. Because it's just meant so much to me being able to go out there and like amidst how heavy everything feels, I think living as a young person in this point in time, like just kind of being a little bit unsure of like our future and what I'm going to be able to give my children. I think I find like a lot of peace with the relationships I've been able to build, and just a lot of trust in one another. And I think that's definitely been like the most strengthening part for me, that allows me to like be able to laugh during those hard times when I might be feeling down, or we get some bad news, or the judicial review didn't come out the way we wanted it to. It's like we're still able to go out on the Lakiep, and we're still laughing, and we're still giggling, and we're still making jokes. And I think that that's been like the absolute best medicine for me. But I would also love to hear what Luke's is.
Yeah, I agree. It's been pretty good to see the community and people like my age come together and bring, just learning about the land, where we come from, how it was used, what we could do to protect what's left, and just still being able to like love each other and, laugh, enjoy learning all these different things. And, the mind's still processing like what we could do, but having it like as time goes on, like, it just feels like it gets better, even though like it's still overwhelming with like a lot of things. I'm still pretty excited and look forward to like a lot of the work that needs to be done.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And yeah, I think that's so inspiring, because I know that what industry wants and what the colonial governments wants is for you all to be divided from one another. They want you too mad at each other to go swimming, too burnt out to do the fun stuff like cultural burning and learning about your plants. So this is the kind of the work that we don't always see in media about youth resistance. And when we think, I know we have a lot of different organizations and representatives in the room, when we think about funding the work, especially when it's in a lot of our mandates to stop the pipeline. Like, we also need to make it in our mandate to support some of these alternatives, and really the things that they're saying yes to, and the reconnection they're doing. Drew, you started with talking about how everything is connected, and how you saw the connection between your mental health studies and the land. And one thing I've also been, really proud of is just how I see you every time you speak making those connections, and I also see the Lakiep Firekeepers making connections to other movements and other genocides that are happening in the world. And I think that's something that youth and this generation just really do innately. So I'm wondering if you could just say a bit more about the connection, both to other facets of this work, but also other movements, and how you've incorporated that into the Firekeepers.
Yeah. It's definitely pretty overwhelming to be living in the world right now, if you care about stuff. And I feel like that's what got me into this, is I was just feeling completely overwhelmed with grief and worry and fear, and I just could see all these bad things happening and feeling like there's nothing I could do. But once you sit down and talk, you talk to your elders that ground you, you talk to the people in your life that have good medicine, and they show you that there is like solutions, and lots of these problems we're facing, they're all connected, and colonization has a big part in a lot of the problems that we're facing today. And just realizing that our struggles are connected all around the world, not just in Hazelton, not just on Wet'suwet'en territory, it's all connected. And just, I don't know, it feels more uniting when you feel that way. It's not just your fight and their fight, it's all of our fight. Everything we do contributes to the better of everyone, so it feels a less weight-bearing when you know there's other people around the world. But yeah, growing up with a more traditional view, I can just see the disconnect in my communities, and that's the main reason why I went into psychology, because I could see lots of people struggling, and I struggled myself a lot throughout my whole life, so I just wanted to learn more. And yeah, I just realized that it's all connected. Like, we are the land is us. What we do to the land, we're doing to ourselves. So when we're poisoning our waters and our land, we're poisoning our minds and our hearts, and it makes us lost and disconnected. And just coming back to the land can really connect you back to yourself and like your identity. Growing up, I used to not want to listen to what my families were saying, like teaching me about my culture and tradition. And now I'm just so grateful, even though I didn't want to listen, I was listening. And yeah, it just brings you back to who you are, and you just have so much strength from our culture and our place we call home here. And we come from such powerful people, and if you remind yourself where we come from, it just makes it so much easier to keep doing what we're doing.
Like echoing so much of what Drew just shared, like a great example of connections we've been able to form, like through that unity and understanding that a lot of our struggles are connected, is we've started like collaborations with like local organizations, organizations that prioritize like the health of fish, organizations that prioritize the health of people, and seeing the struggles and the impacts that industry will be causing. That's just like one example of how we're all connected in that way. We do a lot of work with Melissa Lem, who is president of Canadian Physicians for the Environment. She's an amazing woman, and I've been able to learn so much from her, but also just really leaning into that research aspect where we look at what the actual health impacts are going to look like for our community, and what is going to be released not only into our water systems, but into our air and our air quality. And a lot of you might not know this, but we don't have any air quality measuring index in this community. So there's actually no way to tell how our air quality is in the Hazelton region, which is a big area of concern. As they plan to put a compressor station up Salmon River Road, which is actually just right across the river from my house. And if you're from out of town, you would have passed that road on the way in here. But it's just been amazing to connect with people and be able to foster like that collaboration. We recently have spoken with Skeena Wild, and they were amazing. We've done work with Pacific Wild, coincidentally, a lot of wilds. So I don't know what that says about our organization. But we've really just been enjoying the relationship building and being able to learn and see all of these different aspects of how they're going to be affecting our community, and being able to voice that and give people some form of education and reassurance if that's something that people are searching for or they might not have known. Like, it's just, education is such a powerful tool, and it's something that shouldn't be neglected. And I think that's something that's ever present in the work that we do, for sure.
Awesome, thanks for sharing. Yeah, again, like this is the kind of work they don't want us realizing how much we have in common with one another and how interconnected this fight is. And yeah, that interconnectedness is just so critical to the story of this fight and this work. A lot of, my work I do personally is on countering the myth of economic reconciliation. We've seen with this project, PRGT, and previously with Coastal GasLink, and really every new industrial project on the table are telling us, like, don't worry, Indigenous people, you're gonna have jobs. And the government's not doing reconciliation, but don't worry, we got it, we're doing economic reconciliation. And recently that's become really scary because now we have this new legislation provincially, Bill 14 and 15. In Ontario, there's a counterpart, Bill 5, federally, Bill C5, where they're telling us they're going to fast track projects, and that's what we're going to do to stand up to Donald Trump. And again, they're saying, don't worry, because we're going to do Indigenous partnership on everything. And so they're really selling us this, that, you know, the thing as young people that we got to strive to do is just like get a job, make that money, get a job. And that's certainly not part of my vision for the future. And I know it's not part of yours. So I'm just wondering, like, what would you like consider, part of your vision? And I know we've touched it on so many ways, but maybe if we just put ourselves in the future, like what would that economic reconciliation with a more traditional economy or a new economy look like for you as young people?
As a poli-sci major, it's insane how much the word economic reconciliation gets thrown around. And like as Janelle was saying, she's done so much amazing work on kind of just breaking down what that looks like. And to me, from what I've seen and what I've learned and what I've been taught, is just like seeing the term economic reconciliation being slapped over taxpayer-funded projects and then offloading them onto Indigenous communities to then deal with all of the impacts that are going to be happening throughout the territories. And oftentimes you see these projects going through rural communities, just like the one that we are currently in. We see these projects going through on the Highway of Tears, of all places, on Highway 16, and having man camps going up in rural areas, as Indigenous women are very prone to violence. It's just really disheartening to see them utilize that term and push it as something positive when we see the impacts. We're going to be living the impacts, not them, we will be. And that's why education is so important in this realm. And when we look at, you know, what we would envision our future, like we have to look at our own systems and strengthening our houses and being able to unite as one and be able to hash out these things and have a proper conversation. And I think sometimes a lot of the work Drew and I are doing, it can come off a little bit aggressive, but that's never the way we want to be portraying ourselves. We don't want people to feel like we're attacking them or calling them out, but we do want to be able to have a conversation and be able to facilitate that in a way that we can have an open dialogue that's respectful to one another. We understand that everybody has a different definition of what reconciliation might look like, because there is actually no set definition on what that would look like. And to me, that would be giving back the land, but they've already reaped so many of the resources that they wouldn't be able to give it back in a proper way. So for me, it's kind of just a little bit of a useless term and a useless word, and them saying, "Oh, you'll get a piece of the pie," when we own the pie. Like, the pie is ours. Like, it's not something that they should have the power to give us crumbs of. And I think that's like the main thing that we're looking at when we're talking and having these discussions, is that we should be making the decisions. It shouldn't be them consulting with us. We should be deciding what's happening on the Lac-Yep. We should be the ones determining what our future is going to look like, what infrastructure we're putting through. They don't get to come to us with an offer and say, "Hey, we're going to put this through, and it might be a really good thing for you to sign off on, but if you don't sign off on it, we're going to push it through anyways, because we're going to figure out a way to do it through fast-tracking legislation." So for us, it would be returning power back to the original holders, but that also means taking into consideration youth voices and people who are going to be living with these impacts. Money has done so much damage in the communities, and I think it's really disheartening to see them taking advantage of communities that are struggling and communities that are just operating out of a place of survival and wanting to provide for their families, and them taking advantage of that is really disheartening to see. So it would really be amazing if we could see just collective, united voice, and being able to do that isn't an easy thing at all. Having a conversation and agreeing is not an easy thing, but I believe that a lot of us are very strong, and a lot of us actually do share the same values, but we just come at it from different points of view, and sometimes it just takes being able to open up and have a respectful dialogue to understand that a lot of us are actually coming from the same place, and a lot of us actually want good for our community. We just see that through a different lens. So having the ability to include youth voices in these discussions and opening up conversations to everyone in the community and making transparency a real thing where we know how these decisions are being made, by whom and why. I think transparency would be an amazing thing to see in this day and age, and they say they're going to be transparent, but I think with the information we've been giving, it hasn't been that at all. So transparency would be amazing. Having youth in the room and learning about what's going on would be amazing, and being able to have conversations that isn't operating from a place of survival, but a place of wanting to find a solution would be amazing as well.
Boom. Yeah, I think that covered it.
This is what happens when I don't write stuff down.
Yeah. I mean, like, what is this romanticization of the Canadian economy that's going so well for everyone? Not like everyone across the country is complaining about it. Yeah, thanks so much for completely like dispelling the myth of economic reconciliation, and I hope that others like pick up that work too. This narrative is really spiraling because, you know, we are taught to not have an imagination or a vision for ourselves, and they're capitalizing that. And I think if you're a non-Indigenous person, same thing. You're an economic imagination, an alternative for a different political system. You know, we need to find that vision and hold true to it and not allow this narrative to keep spiraling out of control. I just found out that there's a minister of economic reconciliation in Ontario. Instead of Indigenous affairs, it's a minister of economic reconciliation. So they definitely forgot the rest of the TRC report along the way. One of the questions we were gonna ask is, you know, what do you want this room to know about how you can support youth? But I know, being on many youth panels, and I know that you all know, after doing a year of that, we're asked that question all the time, and it feels disheartening when it falls on empty ears. So we're gonna do something different, but before we get that, I just wanted to give the panelists a chance to respond. Like why are we sick of that question? Like, how does it feel to be asked over and over? What can you do to support the youth?
Yeah, that's definitely something we've been feeling since starting our group, even though it's been awesome for the support. It's also been kind of isolating. I feel like lots of people see us doing our work and they're like, oh, cool, the youth have it under control. We don't have to do anything now. But that's not the case, unfortunately. It's a lot of work, and it's all of our futures on the line, so it will take everyone to help out, not just the younger generation. And I feel like we need to learn how to work together as a community, and not through groups and divisions, just as a community and a collective. Yeah, and just changing the narrative that this isn't just our fight, this is for anyone that lives on the earth, fighting against extractive industries that are driving ecological collapse that are coming in everywhere. Like, there's so many pipelines trying to go through right now. This isn't just the only one trying to get pushed through. This is a fight against capitalism and industry and destructive ways of life that we have built our societies off of. And yeah, if you're out on the land, you can see the changes that are happening, and it's really scary. And these changes don't just impact the people here, they impact everybody. We all breathe the same air, and we need the same water. So we should all be standing up for the little bit that we have left. And we're one of the last places in the world with this amount of untouched land and environment. So I think this is something that we really should be doing the most to protect. And yeah, just supporting more, not asking how we can help you. Like, what can you do yourself for this fight? It doesn't have to be for the youth. What can you do? Like, we've been finding the shared values. That's the thing we've learned is finding the common ground between people. So finding what ways you can help. If you work in the healthcare field, you can advocate for the healthcare pressure that bringing in these industries bring into the communities. You can talk to the teachers, you can talk to all the different groups and find a common ground, and then you can figure out what you can do from there. Because this fight also has a lot of burnout, and it's a really bad burnout culture. I found pretty quickly that this fight is not sustainable in a lot of ways because it falls on the shoulders of a few people. And we need to decolonize the way we protect the land, and we need to protect ourselves and our spirits. So that means not doing everything on your own and being able to take a step back and not feeling like the world's gonna end if you stop. So yeah, having good support and sharing the weight and collaboration, not asking for us to tell you what to do, but figuring it out. Because we also had to figure out what to do on our own. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. Yeah, one of the very first things someone told me the first time I was on a site fight against a Trans Mountain pipeline is like, you need to know when to step back and trust that people are going to step forward. So you are all here being invited to step forward and to figure out yourselves how you can support this youth movement, how you can support this site fight. So instead of getting the panelists to answer that question, we're going to turn it to you. We'd love to spend about 10 minutes with you just turning to your neighbors, whether you work at an organization, whether you're a funder, an elder, an auntie, or a youth yourself. Just talk amongst your table. What can you commit to doing for the youth movement? What can you commit to doing for this fight? What can you commit to doing for peace and unity? We'd love to just give 10 minutes for you to talk amongst yourselves, and then we're going to bring some roaming mics around, because I was taught, you say things out loud so that you're making the commitment to one another, to the land, to the Creator. So we're going to give 10 minutes, and then we'd love for you to share back your commitments. Oh, what to say? you're talking, close your mouth, hold your fist up. All right, folks, thanks for indulging us in a breakout. We have a couple Bluetooth mics ready to go out for the crowd. So I would love if you to put your hand up if you would love to share your commitment out loud. Don't be shy. We just did it up here. Who has something to share? Yay.
Told Kirby.
Come stand beside me. Why simgiget? Why sigram hanak? Ta nit kubawilsas gans gugel. Di taught what gisgas bedege. Wilp skogum laha. When dat hayok jim stat lachs. Dam lachamid when sajocht. Alu git ksan. Lach wilps need. I also am a firekeeper, a sacred firekeeper. In the nation of the Gitxsan, since time of contact, our longhouses have been non-existent, have been burnt down. And I believe to go back to step one, I believe that our youth and the engagement to ceremonial conductivity would benefit the youth is by holding our ceremonies in longhouses and conducting all our meetings and our spaces culturally in a longhouse. We need that longhouse and our sacred fire in our longhouses. So our cedars should be protected. The immersion to ethnobotany should be conducted more in our schools, because ethnobotany is the core to a healthy Otsan spirit, and fully immerse the health and wealth of the Otsan by conducting ethnobotany full circle to the nations of the Gitxsan and our neighboring nations. Ethnobotany would help self-sustain and persevere within our nations. So we need to protect our cedar, build our longhouses, and live off the land once again. Doib Sipnism Hapmia.
Nachalia for sharing. Beautiful. Maybe we'll do just one more. Does someone have a commitment to the youth they'd like to share out loud?
Denise takoze skyze Denise takoze stelop or saisozi stelop. First of all, I hold my hands up to you, youth. What an amazing presentation. You made me proud to know that the next generation is there to hold all of us up. And when you gravitate off of youth and you become an auntie and you get those other roles and responsibilities, you have all these elders, aunties here to hold you up. I was thinking about what things that we can do, and I was just listening to how powerful you all are. And I think I know all of your parents in some capacity. And I can hear those wisdom and those voices come out in what you guys are sharing. And I think it's very powerful. I think you said something that really resonated with me. I'm always out on the Yinta. And I know our Ananoktan and the Wagoose and my responsibility while I'm out there. And I have 3 children. And I find it really interesting because I think, Drew, you said it. My mom tells me these stories, my dad says these stories, and I don't listen. But I was thinking, it doesn't matter it matters what we do and what we share, but you're gonna find your voices and your power and your strength and the things that you love and nurture. Our Creator gave us all very special gifts because we all are unique and we all have a role. And my kids, they're 15 to 27 now, and they all have very different roles and views on life. One's going to be a psychologist. One is a nurturer, and she's a life giver, and she has a baby, and she's brought new gifts into our Luxilio house. And I have a young one who's like all about economics, and he's going to be a driller, and and we're talking about when you're out on the territories, what are you noticing? Who are you with when you're out there? What are you taking from the land and leaving those seeds so they can make those informed decisions? Because we need to empower our youth to make those decisions in a good way. So it's all those lessons all the time. But what resonated the most for me is you guys starting a media, because there's so much media out there, so much information that it's so confusing. But if you can empower those voices and raise those voices and make them loud, you get that buy-in from those youth that want to crave and connect and be and belong. And that's what's kind of disconnected. We don't sit down for tea anymore. My daughter, just a quick story, my daughter Kayla, she goes out and harvests tea. And there's a story behind every piece of medicine that we harvest. There's a process to that harvesting. It's not just taking it and selling it. She gifts it. But before that, there's a whole process around where you harvest it from, what ecosystem are you impacting, how much are you taking. I harvest cedar, and I'm always conscious that there's this hands. I got my aunties, I got my grandmas, and I got my new trees. Don't touch those. How much do you harvest? Where do you harvest? There's protocols, and we all know as scientists and biologists of our lands and our lines, we know what we're responsible to do. And there is an equal place to balance all those out. And so for me, I'm saying, you already have everybody here to help you. You're not alone. Don't get burned out. Just go pass it on to somebody else to help you out. And hold everybody else up, because the more we come together and we sit down and have teas together, the more we're going to know that we are united and we are together and we are not alone. And so I'm just holding my hands up to you, and I hold my hands up to everybody else. What's up?
Natalia. Yeah, we just heard a lot about the importance of ceremony, of media, storytelling, roles and responsibility, and knowing that we have people holding us up. I would love to hear more, but I don't want to keep us too much longer from lunch. But I would encourage you to keep those conversations. Perhaps in those discussions you had an idea or commitment, and you said it out loud, and now you have people to work on it with. And just know that the work continues beyond this panel and beyond the summit. So thank you so much, Natalia, for indulging us in that little breakout. And would just love to hand it to the panelists for some closing reflections. And we'll start with you, Luke.
Yeah, it's really really nice to hear all the, talk around. It really makes a difference just hearing everybody come together, and everybody has a role in all this, like to be a part of the change in the world, because humans go through change all the time. Us as Indigenous people have been through a lot of change, like pretty fast, but we could also have a say for our future and be a part of that change. And look at all the help, right? There's tons of people here right now that feel the fire as well to make a difference. It's really nice to see.
Thank you, Luke. You shared so many good points, and I agree with so many of them. And as was previously stated, I hold my hands out to everybody here who showed up and is listening with open ears and is just taking in information. I know I also look forward to the rest of the teachings throughout the summit. I just would like to say Doyak Sanisim to everybody here who showed up, and I just hope that we can move forward together in inclusion and not exclusion. And I look forward to getting to know everybody here a bit better and maybe forming some more relationships and being able to share that workload a little bit.
Yeah, Hamia, Masai, for everyone listening, the support always means so much, and we do feel the love from our community, and we feel it way beyond our communities too. Around Turtle Island and around the world, we have so much support, and we're just super grateful that you guys are giving us a platform to speak and be heard, because it feels like we weren't heard for a long time. So it's really nice to feel heard and seen. And yeah, we're excited to see the fire keep going. That's where our name came from. Firekeepers, the ones who keep it going, keep the fight going, that our ancestors started, and we'll continue doing that, and with the help of everyone, feeding and adding fuel to the fire.
Beautiful. We can keep keeping up with these youth and their amazing work. The Lakyep Firekeepers on social media. If you're local, show up and support their community events. Like they said, keep forming these relationships. I know that this panel really filled my cup, so let's just keep that good energy going for the rest of the summit. Awatse.
Doyak Sinisum, thank you so much. to Lachia Firekeepers. And I just have to note, I am also a proud Lachia Firekeeper, and I'm especially proud after hearing, what everyone had to share today. Because, this group of young folks, I've seen nothing but a passion for the land, a true, genuine caring for our community, each other, and just a yearning for the truth. To go out on the land, to see the stories, to experience it firsthand, to speak with the elders, the knowledge keepers, to learn everything, all the wide diversity of skills that are needed to tackle the very complex issues that we face in our communities today. So I say just a big round of applause once again for the amazing work that they're doing. And I just have to say thank you, Janelle, for the amazing moderation on that panel. That was truly a treat to listen to, and I could tell everyone enjoyed that thoroughly. So thank you, Janelle.